welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Business Morning, coming to you live from Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, where the first ever investment and economic forum is going on. It's the second day of that event, and of course, like I told you earlier on, we've had deliberations, we've had panel discussions, we've had speeches being delivered from the Vice President, Architect Namadi Sambo, to the Governor of the state, Siraki Dixon, and other ministers that were invited for this occasion, for this decision. And right now we're being joined on the program by Timipre Seipulou. He is the Special Advisor on Treasury Account and Revenue here in Bayelsa. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And also to my far right, we have Amadou Boha Owe. He is the Senior Special Assistant on Internally Generated Revenue. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, madam.
On the program. It's quite an interesting topic when we look at internally generated revenue for Buyers Estate. I'm going to start off with Timipre.
Yes.
Before the government of Governor Siraki Dixon came on board, what has it been like in terms of internally generated revenue for the state?
Yeah, before this government came in, the internally generated revenue of Bayelsa was quite poor. We're looking at about 200 million on a monthly basis. 200 million on a monthly basis, which is both workers and every source. That was what it was. But as of today, we've been able to hit an average of sometimes 900, 800, 1 billion. So an average of 900 million. Yes.
Okay, let me go to Amadou Boha. Your name is quite a very interesting name to pronounce.
Amadou Boha.
Okay. Now, there are a lot of reports as to the IGR of Buyers Estate. And one of the reports that I was looking at this morning said that you're spending as much as 100 million, 150 million naira monthly, you're using that amount of money to generate your IGR. What's the position?
That report, to me and to us in Bayelsa, is not correct, because we don't spend that much at all, because if you come into revenue generation in Bayelsa now, what we do is, according to the Personal Income Tax Act, Peter, as amended in 2011, there's a cost of collection element in the cost of in the revenue generation, which in the states used to be 10%, but according to the law, anything from 5% and above, not less than 5%. So now in Bayelsa, we have been able to bring down that cost of collection to, at the agency level, for all the collecting agents, they will give them 6%, while the platform providers that provide the ICT platform that collects all the taxes so that we can monitor real-time online, they are being paid 2.5%. On the average, that has really reduced any amount that is spent on revenue generation. So that report, I don't think, is correct.
Okay, I'm just going to stick with okay.
Let me just add to that. On average, we're looking about, for instance, 20-something million, 30 million, or thereabout. And like he has mentioned, the people of Bayelsa should appreciate what the government has brought into the table. We're talking about, before this government, 10% as cost of collection that was given to the agencies for collection, so as to enable them to carry out operations. But this government reduced that cost of collection from 10% to 6%. Secondly, the platform providers that the government was paying 4%, this government reduced that cost of collection from 4% to 2.5%. And the components that form the basis for computation of the cost of collection, this government removed some elements because we're a transparent and an efficient government. For instance, in the previous period, the 10% included the IGR generated from workers. But currently, the cost of collection we're talking about does not involve the IGR generated from the personal income taxes of workers, which as of today is about 300 million. So if you were to take 6% of 300 million, you can imagine how much. But this government removed all those elements. So every month, what we are saving by that decision is quite material to this government, to the people of Bayelsa.
We'll come back to the issue of savings. I was going to ask about Dubois. you were talking about agencies that are involved in the collections. Could you let us know the agencies that are involved in the collection of revenues for the state government?
You see, in every jurisdiction, the principal agency responsible for tax collection is the State Board of Internal Revenue, as it were, at the state level. But beyond that, certain other agencies, by virtue of the functions that they perform, generate certain revenues, like the Environmental Sanitation Authority, the Ministry of Environment. By virtue of the work they do, certain revenues accrue to all those places. And like I said, all of these are the various collecting agents that are paid the 6%, as it were. And that is what we look at when we talk about agencies that collect taxes on behalf of government.
Okay, let me come to Timipre. Doesn't it lead to multiple taxation? Have you been able to tackle that in your scheme? Here?
What did you say?
Multiple taxation.
Multiple
Because we have
taxation.
agencies, because some states in the Federation complain of multiple taxations. We have a lot of agencies involved in collection of taxes. So they complain that, how do we cut down this? Are there any form of duplication of roles?
Yeah.
Does it lead to multiple taxation?
Yeah, at the state level, we are actually addressing the issue of multiple taxation because the government set up a tax harmonization committee, and the role of that committee was to look at all the agencies, whether there is some duplicity in the taxes they are collecting. For instance, if let's say, environmental sanitation is collecting certain fines or duties or whatever, we look at it in line with other agencies that may be carrying out the same functions. And if it is so, we want to ensure that only one agency is responsible for all of that. And what we have tried to do is that we have now centralized all the collection process to one process. And we are putting all those functions now on the Board of Internal Revenue. So all other agencies that the environment and all of that, we will look at what are the type of revenues that are expected to generate. But we will now say, look, there must be a common unit that will come up with a collection. And so even if a particular revenue item involves 2-3 agencies, what we are doing now is they will come up with, this is the rates. And the taxpayer will be given one bill. When he's given one bill, and this one is collected by the states, then at the state level, we can allocate to the different agencies that probably have contributed to that revenue item. In that way, we are pulling off this multiplicity issue. And you also realize that, given the federal government's Tax Harmonization Act 1998, the government has specified what sort of revenues should be charged by the different tiers of government: the federal government, the state government, and the local government. So at the state level, we are ensuring that the state does not come up with taxes that already are under the purview of the local governments, so that the taxpayer is not overburdened.
All right, let me come to Amadou Boha. Is there any mechanism at all that accommodates complaints from taxpayers? Because, like you said, like Timipre is talking about the fact that the state government is working on the issue of cutting down on multiple taxations. For those people who have complaints, maybe the shops have been pulled down, you're not paying your tax, and another agency had come earlier to collect the tax. Is there any complaint mechanism that has been put in place by the state government to receive complaints so that you can track and monitor how these things are done?
Before now, we had such cases where different agencies will go and begin to harass the taxpayer and all of that. So when they see them, they are scared and worried. They close down their shops and all that. With this harmonization policy of government that is ongoing, we have been able to address that issue of such thing. But anytime there's a complaint, we deal with it promptly from the board, because there's a compliance department of the Board of Internal Revenue that handles all such cases. And also the monitoring team, when they go, they collate. And at the end of the day, the government also set up a tax assessment and review committee, which is the highest revenue body of the state, ably headed by His Excellency the Deputy Governor, that handles cases of anybody with protests and complaints from any agency, and even the taxpayer. So with all of that, we have been able to address that problem. But Be that as it may, the issue of complaints no longer arise because of this harmonization we are doing, where all the various agencies are brought on one table. What tax do you collect and what tax do this other one collect? At the end of the day, there's an agreement and there's a unity of purpose, and that is why the government is moving on in a very positive direction in terms of revenue generation.